Laid up there is a filthy troll. I whip out my sword to embrace the monster horde. Black mage cast the spell to send them all to burning hell. Then we chose to fly above. The ones below us are breathing their last breath. We all focused on our goal, as we must complete without regret.
No, I didn't vote in this one, so I don't know. This must have been a second one, but I did reply, and I said, clearly they forgot My Horse Prince. Did you ever seen that game?
I've heard of it.
It was on an episode of, I think, James and Mike Mondays on Cinemassacre.
That's probably where I've heard of it, yeah. There's also... talking about weird games involve riding horses. There's a Barbie equestrian game. I don't remember the exact name of it. But the reason it was popular is because a lot of Barbie games were popular during the when Xbox Live was blowing up and the achievement hunting, because all of the Barbie games were quick ways to get to that legendary 1000 G gamer score, because they were so easy to just complete every single achievement in the game. Like games that otherwise would just fall under the radar if it wasn't for that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they quoted me on My Horse Prince, but I did listen to their first podcast.
Yeah.
They mentioned me about something. Anyway,
there's some pretty good games for horse riding, but I don't know. I don't know. I honestly, my complaint is I feel like horse riding in many earlier games with horse riding is objectively worse than swimming in many games once 3D swimming was taken out. And everybody always bitches about the swimming levels, but nobody talks about like mounted combat or anything like that in early like 64 and PlayStation games. And you know that shit can go. I'm glad it's gotten better in both fronts too, because swimming's gotten way better.
What do you think about the Twilight Princess horse?
You know, as much as I didn't really like Twilight Princess, I wasn't bothered by the horse at all. I thought it was a much needed improvement on like horseback riding in Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
Not as good as sailing in Wind Waker though. That felt more satisfying to do, especially once you got your cannon and you just stop sailing and fire at things.
Yeah, I enjoyed twirl in Breath of the Wild, how you can like twirl a staff around.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a spear.
You become a proper dragoon.
And you can actually hit enemies from pretty far away. Yeah. And you got to kind of ride by them, but...
Well, that's what I would do is if I was on a horse, I would always just pull out a spear if I had one. And it's like that one spot, you know where the horse statue is? Right? Right? And there's always like a couple of people walking by, and they're always getting attacked by like bokoblins or whatever over there. And I just like meander, just like slowly walk by them and just stab them like 100 times in a row. And
yeah, I could never get the hang of like I never tried like killing a guardian or anything from horseback though.
Oh, I have.
It was too hard. Although it's the only way, or one of the few ways, that you can actually outrun a one of those lasers if you get going fast enough.
Well, the cool thing is, especially if you have a tough horse, like, I mean, if you have a Pona who doesn't have the highest stats in any individual category, but it's like the highest combined stats of any horse, you could just like ride through a Guardian and like knock it over. And get off the horse and just kill it or whatever. But I mean,
I guess
Pona died on me once because I ran through the Hyrule field and I had like 6 Guardians chasing me.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, the white horse is the fastest.
Yeah.
It's faster than Epona.
And Ganon's horse, the giant one, is tougher, but it's slow as shit.
Yeah. You can't get it to run at top speed.
Yeah, it doesn't even have a sprint. It's like its speed is literally just its speed. There's no sprint button on that one.
Yeah. No spurs.
Yep. So,
hello, Eagle.
Welcome to the Vomitorium, episode 122. As always, I'm your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. How you doing today?
Just fine.
That's good.
Slept a little late.
Oh, I did.
For sure. I had my dinner, and I'm ready to go.
I always sleep late. Yeah.
You shouldn't sleep too late on the weekends. If you've got a routine on the weekdays, it screws up.
See, my routine on the weekdays is sleeping late, so, and I do the vast majority of stuff in the middle of the night while everybody else is sleeping. And so
I should say you shouldn't change your routine on the weekends, whatever it is.
Ganon's horse breathes fire.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe in one of the games. I'm trying to think though. Phantom Ganon's horse goes through paintings.
Now, is it the big horse in Breath of the Wild? Is that actually Ganon's horse?
It's supposed to be.
I mean,
it's said to be. There's like lore related stuff too, but it's like, I don't know, the reincarnation of his horse. It's like with the white horse too. It's like, is it actually? It's supposed to be the royal horse, so it's like Zelda's horse. But like, wouldn't Zelda's actual horse be dead? Is it like a reincarnation of her horse or something?
Yeah, or just a descendant, I guess. Yeah, I mean, Ganon's horse surely didn't live for...
No.
Well, plus, there is no Ganondorf in this. I mean, he lived 10,000 years prior.
Yeah. So. Well, I think because it resembles Ganondorf's horse. I think that's what it's supposed to be, but it has to be like some type of like descendant or reincarnation or some shit.
It makes no sense. Why are horses getting reincarnated?
I don't know. Everything gets reincarnated.
Yeah.
Sages get reincarnated. Look at frickin' Wind Waker. Everyone gets a reincarnation.
I was watching a retrospective of this one guy did a retrospective of all the Final Fantasy 13 games, all 3 of them, and he just released his one on Lightning Returns, and I didn't really know much about it, but I was let's just say surprised to see what the ending was, because I didn't. I never knew what the ending was.
It's like, well, like that game
takes of reincarnation,
such a left turn, right? Like, because the first game, okay, this just kind of seems like a typical Final Fantasy game, in its own little world. Second game follows up the first game in the same little world. Third game, welcome to the cosmology of the universe with Space Jesus. Let's go. It's completely different in almost every way.
Well, it's not even it's Space God, just like straight up. Hi, I'm God. I'm gonna send you to collect souls for a new world.
Oh no, I was referring to Lightning as Space Jesus.
Oh yeah, Lightning, I guess. Yeah. Although they mistranslated, like they translated her to Savior, which was not what was in the original Japanese.
Yeah.
I forget what it was. It was something similar, but not.
Well,
Savior.
she's supposed to be the Messiah. That's basically what the game translates to.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
What's funny is that
it's funny because the word literally means savior.
What does?
Messiah literally means savior.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But let me see if I have it. Apparently Oh, no, I don't. Apparently, there's a trading card on Steam for Lightning Returns that has the correct translation of her title.
Oh, I'm not
and
surprised.
I can't remember what it was, but it was something other than Savior. But at any rate, apparently, according to this retrospective, the translation or the localization was terrible in this game. The few models that weren't reused from the past couple of games were terrible. Like any of the new models, like there's this dog that just looks bizarre. And
and it's really sad too, because as far as the 3 games, it had the best gameplay. And that's also probably the most intriguing story. Like, I felt myself hooked in the story more than the previous 2 games. It was just like the laziest of the 3. Like, they didn't bother to put much effort into any new content.
Well, and he was saying like the one of the problems was that they made it so open in that you can complete quests in any order technically, but there is sort of a prescribed order that makes it easier. But you may or may not complete quests within a certain period of time. It may take you longer or shorter. But there's a cutscene after every day because there's 13 or actually technically 14 days. And there's a separate cutscene after each day, but they don't know how far along you've progressed in the story by then. So they had to make the cutscenes very generic, and non-committal to how far you may or may not have progressed. So that kind of hurt the story a bit, apparently. So bizarre entry.
I do like Duke Nukem. We got some things going on in the chat there.
See.
Yeah. And Glacier Mountain Comics asking, have you guys heard of an app called Codea? I have no idea what that is at all. And Duke Nukem Forever and X-Plane are on sale on Steam. I do like Duke Nukem. I probably already own Duke Nukem Forever on Steam, but for those of you who don't own it and you like boomer shooters with boomer humor, well, go play Duke Nukem. The games are fun. That's all I have to say on it.
I see Codea. Turn your device into a powerful visual coding tool. It's $15. I don't know why I would do that when I have Visual Studio on my computer, but
I don't know.
Apparently there are pro graphics, AR kit, shaders, and all the power of your device. Live coding.
Well, this might get you started on something, because Eagle's particularly trying to egg you. He says, I should be able to scalp Ghostbuster collections without being judged by people on Twitter.
Well, I should be able to buy Ghostbuster collections for a reasonable price without being judged by people on Twitter.
Yeah. That was the weirdest thing when the person like responded to you about like how, all collective things get scalped for like 3 times market sales price. And you're like,
okay, yeah, that's true. It's probably true.
Doesn't mean it should be.
I know, it's been going on for a while, but it's like, can I still be angry about it? I mean, can I still be unhappy about it? So, whatever.
It's like, actually, wait, there was an 8-Bit Theater panel that I recently just saved. That's perfect for this. Where it's just like, technically he's not wrong, but he should be.
About scalping.
That's the thing. Yeah, or just anything. That's my favorite response.
Yeah.
It's like, he's technically not wrong, but he should be.
Yeah. Well, clearly I should have bought it before Eagle scalped it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I guess if I want it now, I just have to pay $300 instead of $100, which is what it was originally. Although I don't remember ever seeing it on sale. I saw when it was announced, and I saw that it was going to be available February 1st, and so I assumed that you couldn't buy it until February 1st. And I don't remember ever seeing it. Like, the next time I looked was sometime in January, and it was already sold out, and it's like, maybe it'll be available again. Like, I didn't ever see it actually available. If I had seen it for sale for $99 at any time, I would have bought it, but I never saw it. So I'm guessing the day it was announced is the day it went on sale, and the same day it sold out. I'm guessing. So that pisses me off. Because I would have been happy to buy it 2 months ago or whenever it was announced. Eagle says he'll sell me one for $600. He just has to buy it from some other scalper first.
So just double his return. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. No, it is kind of weird though, right? Because like the scalping thing, to some degree, has been around forever, but for most things is very, very new. Like I remember back in like the 90s and the aughts, most collectors things I wanted, I could just pay the money and get. I didn't even have to pre-order half the time, right? Like for video games, the later aughts, like you had to pre-order if you wanted something just because of how limited things were. But before that, you just walk up and get like a box set collector's edition of something that even has like maybe it was like the box set of the Lord of the Rings that came with the little ring. I got that. I was able to walk up to Walmart and just buy it. It didn't have to anything else, you know.
And like the collector's edition of Ultima 9, for instance, it's just something I remember because I had it, and it's a gigantic box. I mean, it was huge, and it was just available if you wanted it. I'm sure it eventually sold out, but it's like, if you want to spend the money, you can get it. I wanted to spend the $100. I was willing to spend $100.
I remember back when scalping was mostly limited to concert tickets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, no, we'll just get a whole bunch early because we're willing to wait in line and we'll just resell it to people.
I mean, hell, I got a Nintendo Wii on the release date.
Yeah.
I had to sit in line at the Best Buy in freezing cold weather in November of 2007, but I got one. But now
I didn't
it's
get
like
one on release date.
Yeah, and now it's like you can't even do that because
no, you can't.
It's all online, and so you just have to get lucky
pre-order.
Or whatever. But
yeah, just get a pre-order. That's all you can do now. Like my mom was able to get the Switch on release because she pre-ordered it like months in advance.
Yeah.
And now she's on her third Switch because she kept hawking them.
Old man yells at clouds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember vividly waiting in line in the Best Buy.
I had the money for the Wii and misplaced it. Because I was told to hide the money so nobody else would spend it. And I hid it in a place so good, I forgot where I hid it. And we found it like 3 months later. Like I was cleaning a room and there was this framed picture of all 151 like original Pokemon. And when we moved it to dust behind it, the wad of cash just fell because I had put it on the inside of the frame. And it was like, oh, cool, we found it. And then like that exact same day, a weird coincidence, 2 of my friends came up to my house like, hey, there's still a Wii left at Walmart. 1 if we hurry. I was like, why did you know that I just found the money for it? And I didn't have a bike at the time. I sprinted the 5-mile like trip all the way up to Walmart. I like threw up twice when I got there, but we got the Wii.
Proof that we live in a simulation. It all came together.
Yeah.
Really.
Dang scalpers hiding my money on me.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing that I definitely pre-ordered. Is the what does GMT call it? The Gabe gear.
I think so. After the Game Gear, the Gabe gear.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I pre-ordered my Gabe gear.
It's so big. I didn't realize it was gonna like. I looked at the measurements. I'm like, okay, that seems kind of big. But until I saw it like next to some other things, I didn't realize how big it was.
Yeah, you want
Yeah,
to
I actually
talk about this?
Oh, I was gonna pull it up, but yeah, we can use the stream. It's fine.
Whichever.
Hey, look how fucking huge it is.
Look at it. Look at it. It's huge.
Yeah. See, I always thought the Vita was pretty big compared to like the DS, because like technically the DS was bigger than the PSP and the Vita in total dimensions, but it fell in half, so it fit in your pocket really well. Yeah. But then like I thought it was really small once I tried to fit a Switch in my pocket.
Yeah, I mean, look at this thing.
Yeah.
It's like significantly bigger than this.
Yeah, well, even the one in there, that's the OLED, right?
Yeah, but it's the same size as this, right?
OLED is slightly bigger. So it's the same height because the same Joy-Con. It's wider. And it's slightly wider. There's a dimension chart on Nintendo's website for this. And the screen takes up more of the box space as well. So it fits the proportion.
Well, look at that monster.
I know, that's fucking huge. No, you had to scroll down to the one where it shows it next to the freaking Wii U gamepad. Because there's like a whole thread.
Was that on here? You might have.
It's the same Twitter guy. Tweet there. It's all one thread.
Where is that?
I think it's supposed to be. Or I can pull it up because I still have the picture up in the Discord. Yeah, I have the original Gary Colm thread up though, so I can go through the whole thing with every single picture. Let me just pull this up.
Oh, that was the one with the Vita. Yeah, you go
here. I'll share my screen so you can see it too.
Eagle says, "Will it play BattleTech?"
Probably. I don't know. My camera's gonna start
doing
this.
What can the Steam Deck play? That's a good question. So theoretically, it can play, almost everything on Steam.
Okay, so there's
actually a website.
No, let me hide my messages. People don't need to see that. It's mostly just every single Cross Comics channel inviting me to streams that I'm not awake to do. And then the next one in the thread is this buddy. Recognize the Atari Lynx, right? I'm surprised it's physically bigger than the Atari Lynx.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Because that thing was a monster.
Thing was huge.
We've got a controller size comparison. It's actually bigger than the Xbox controller. Which I was
Could you transfer your already owned Steam games? Yes. The answer is yes.
No, you just use your Steam account.
Glacier,
so anything you own, it's already there.
Yeah, Glacier Mountain, it's basically just another PC with controllers attached. So you hook up your own Steam account and you got all your Steam games.
Yeah, so basically what I think they'll do once it goes live, because people are already picking it up, is I think they're going to start putting a check on there like they do for Windows and Apple, whether it's playable. They'll probably have a separate check just for the Steam Deck so you don't waste your time trying to install a game that won't play on it.
Yeah. There's they've shown off the interface, and when you bring up your Steam library, there's like a little green check next to any game that is, compatible, and a little yellow eye if there's problems.
There's one next to the Turbo Express, which actually was never all that big. I know they were trying to keep the Turbo Express about the same size as a Game Boy, since that was their major competition. There's the OLED. There's it next to the Game Gear, right? That, which was also a monster for having such a small screen size. And low battery life. Like, that thing would power on for, like, half an hour to an hour. Because it was trying to have, like, a full-colored screen back then on, like, AA batteries or something like that. Should have put, like, D-cell in there.
Glacier Mountain's asking how much is it? The lowest, the one with 64 gigs of storage, is $400. Up to the one with 512 gigs storage is $650.
Yeah.
So 400 to 650.
Next to the Game Boy, that was the one I got to, was the Glacier Game Boy Advance. Really tiny.
Oh, cool.
It's funny too, is the Game Boy Advance is roughly the same dimensions as a Game Boy Pocket, just turned on its side, which was great. It was a good use of space, and it's also basically the same size that the DS became, just flipped over.
Yeah,
this next to the SP. That's going to be roughly the same size.
Have we seen someone play games with it? I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
They haven't shipped them yet. So.
I'm not familiar with the GPD Win 3. I'm guessing that's some third-party custom competition to like the Switch and stuff.
Yeah,
they're saying it's the competition to the Steam Deck. If it does the same thing as the Steam Deck, I'd probably be more likely to get that because that is way smaller. It could be way less powerful though. Like a lot of the Steam Deck size could be, hey, this is a behemoth of a gaming device.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like this is my Retroid Pocket.
Yeah.
Would they compare it to this?
I haven't seen one of those. We do have it next to the Neo. I guess. I don't know. Other Switch like PC competition thing. Here's
Are they
next
going
to
to
a
find
banana
anything
for
that's bigger
scale.
than it?
Because you always got to use a banana for scale. That's just something you have to. That's an in joke. Here's the Earth next to banana for scale.
Wait, when does he come? Have we passed the Wii?
No, we haven't gotten to the
gamepad.
We got to the OGP.
Here, wait.
We've got it next to the Virtual Boy, which is bigger, but only barely. Oh god, that's sad. That's only barely smaller than the Virtual Boy.
Here's my Retroid Pocket and a banana for scale.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that. Compared to the Virtual Boy, it's barely smaller than it.
That's amazing. Well, it's not even. Oh wait. Well,
in total dimensions, it's barely smaller. It's wider.
Yeah, it's wider than the Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
Eagle says he's going to scalp a Steam Deck. Well, see, here's the thing: they're still available to buy. So,
and the Virtual Boy required its own carrying case. This thing's going to need like large everything around with it. Here's compared to the deck.
Yeah, wow.
Where was there? Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is it next to the Wii U gamepad.
I can't believe it's. Can that be right?
Yeah, it's bigger than the Wii U game.
Okay, Okay.
Well, so the gamepad is roughly similar dimensions to the Switch. It's thicker, it's bulkier, it's taller. Like you can talk about like X versus Y axis, but like it's built to basically. The Switch is a slicker, streamlined gamepad that has everything in it that you need to play the game.
This thing is huge. And it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
My Wii U gamepad. Wow. So it's going to be bigger than this honking thing.
And for perspective of people at home, here, let me actually maximize. You're about 6 foot, right?
Yeah.
So this is a fairly big guy holding this thing, banana for scale. That's the gamepad. It's bigger than that.
This thing is pretty big. This is bigger than the Switch, right? I mean,
yeah. In some ways, I think the Switch might be slightly wider. Yeah, it's about the same. About the same width, more or less. Like I said, the Switch was basically designed to be a streamlined gamepad that had all the components inside of it.
Yeah, this thing's bigger than my head.
Yeah.
And that is bigger than this.
Yes,
it's crazy.
As I reshare the screen, Steam Deck is bigger than the Wii U gamepad.
What is?
I don't know.
I know. I didn't know what I was getting into when I pre-ordered it. What is the size of the screen? Oh, those are baby hands.
Those are baby hands.
Steam Deck compared to my hands. That's great.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Steam Deck screen, I don't know what the dimension. It's bigger than the LED slightly. So it's a decent sized screen. You know what this reminds me of? This is a DVD player. Remember when DVDs suddenly became like the big thing? And people are like, oh, I want to watch DVDs in my car like I did with the VHS. Thank God they were as portable like VCRs.
Yeah.
They weren't. They were console VCRs. They were nothing portable. But you basically install it in your car. Portable DVD players were smaller. You up on the seat of the car or whatever. That's what that reminds me.
It says it's a 7-inch screen. I guess the Wii U is about a 6-inch screen. Crazy.
Yeah. It's the stop stream. There we go.
Baby hands.
Baby hands.
Well, cool. How much of it weigh? That's the other question. Is it going to be heavy?
Probably. I don't know. I mean, electronics in general are pretty lightweight compared to what they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, my computer's going crazy.
It says 669 grams. How many?
I don't know. It's less than a kilogram.
Ounces? 23.5 ounces. So it's under a pound.
Yeah.
Wait, 60? No, it's under. It's about a pound and a half.
Yeah. It's like, wait, no, that's not a pound. That's the pound's less than that. What are you talking about?
I was thinking 32, but 32 is 2 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a pound and a half.
16 ounces.
That's pretty light. Now there are websites, I believe, that list. I know there was a website that listed like all the games that have so far been verified.
Well, how heavy was the gamepad?
The Wii U one? Yeah. Oh, it's really light. It's lighter than the Switch.
Oh yeah, that was only 491 grams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see, Switch weight. Oh wow. The Switch is only 0.88 pounds with the Joy-Cons. So this is actually pretty heavy.
Yeah, by comparison, because you think you're going to be holding this thing up the whole time.
This is going to be twice as heavy as a Switch, approximately.
Is this going to end up like the Steam computer consoles? Most likely. Valve does this. They create something, and then like 6 months later, they kind of like forget about it, and then a total of 2 years later, they stop support altogether.
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. When it shows up to your place.
Apparently there is a way if you go to the like store.steampowered.com website and you change your browser to be like a mobile browser, it'll show you, or you might have to change the user. I don't know. You have to change the headers or something in your browser. But you can get it to show you whether or not a game is Steam Deck compatible.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I figured there'd be something.
Because that's basically all the Steam Deck does is it goes to the website, the Steam website, and it tells it I'm a Steam Deck. And then
it's going to have a built-in version of Steam in its operating system, so you'll just be browsing it.
Yeah.
Probably the same way you use the console view for browsing, though I'm sure you could probably use the default view since you can load other things on there. Most people don't use the console view of Steam, but you can actually use it right on your computer. It's there. It's actually how the Steam music library works. Yeah, a lot of people also forget. Did you know Steam has a music library function where you can just tell it a file, like a folder on your computer that holds all your music, and you can just listen to music while you're playing the game through Steam without needing an extra program running. It's one of those weird things that most people don't even know the system does.
Yeah.
Because Steam is weird.
What is Eagles just like trying to troll here? Steam is the king of scalping? What are you talking about?
I don't know. I think Eagle found his buzzword of the day, and he's just talking about scalping. Yeah.
He's just going to convince me that he's going to try to convince me that either I love scalping or that I have been a victim of scalping without even knowing it.
Probably. I know at one point you were tempted to scalp. I got you at a couple points. Well, you were talking about it before pre-ordering this Steam Deck. Am I going to get this thing just to scalp it? Or anything? Yeah. And then also when you got your PS5, you were joking about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All jokes, I'm sure.
I would, but it's just too much work.
Yeah.
Because I could get another PS5 and I could get another Steam Deck and I could sell those, but I really just wanted one to keep. So.
Yeah. That's I don't know. Scalping is a lot of work. Like, these people are dedicated.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, if I didn't have a job that pays more than I could make scalping in terms of the time it would take, the time and effort.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. I'd sooner just, well, I don't get paid by the hour, but, essentially, yeah, I get paid more just working.
Yeah. Well, that's also because you're not scalping the right stuff. That's the problem.
Well,
yeah.
I need to scalp Spotify stock. I don't know if that's the thing.
Spotify's probably
or Snapchat
trading under something.
Have you seen Snapchat stock? Holy shit!
People still use Snapchat?
Apparently, when Facebook's stock dropped 25%, Snapchat stock the very next day went up 50%. Holy shit.
Well, I know
what the hell happened with Snapchat.
Snapchat was, if people are still using it, probably still is, very popular amongst Zoomers. And the reason for that as a messaging service is unless one of the two users involved decides to store a copy of the message on their phone, the Snapchat service doesn't keep copies of any message. They get deleted after view.
Yeah.
Right, so there's the cache. After you view it, there'll still be a cached version in there, and you have to choose to save it, because once you clear your cache, it's gone.
Yeah, I guess.
I stopped using it because my friend Dylan Toomey just kept sending me videos of him pissing. Yeah.
But you can't prove it because it was on Snapchat. So now
I mean, I could have if I saved the app and saved the video, but
I don't want to see receipts.
No, I don't. I didn't want to keep those receipts. I like the guy because he's this very over the top eccentric dude that he's almost like a character in an anime, but in real life. He's got like catchphrases and stuff. He's drunk all the time. Cool guy. I like a lot of the stuff with my relationship with him. I don't want to see him pissing. Luckily, no genitalia was ever showed at all. It was just always like the angle of him pissing on like a brick wall, or he'd find something interesting to piss on, like pipes or some cinder blocks outside or whatever, but it'd always just be the piss hitting it. I'm like, why? And it's not just to me. He'd send it to our whole friend group. It's like, I don't want to see this shit.
That's so strange.
Yeah, that's just the kind of guy he is. He was. I wish I still had it. I've lost a lot of the older episodes of the Vomitorium. I would love to just like some of the older ones just initiate them, like let people watch them again if I deem them appropriate enough. And I wish I had the interview with Dylan Toomey because he's such an interesting guy, and he got like, I guess, pseudo famous or small scale famous through trolling the Screw Attack community. And I just don't have it anymore. It was such a good interview.
Eagle says, wasn't there something in the news about that one group that lost money on GameStop stock? I don't know.
I'm trying to think which group. Are you talking about one of the hedge funds that they were trying to blow up? Because we've talked about this too. That one hedge fund did basically file bankruptcy, but don't worry, they're a hedge fund. They got bailed out. They ultimately weren't hurt by it. But a few other hedge funds actually made a lot of bank off of the game stonks thing because it was pretty easy to once you saw the trend happening, right? Like the ones who got hurt were the people who, what's that term again? Where you borrow stock you don't have to sell later. Space it out.
You're talking about short selling?
Short selling. Yeah, the hedge fund that's short sailed got hurt. But then once the stock started rising, other hedge funds jumped on it, saw that it was rising, bought in the middle of it, and then sold during peaks. So one was hurt, but ultimately bailed out, and then more hedge funds made bank out of it anyway. So ultimately, the only people that really got anything out of it that weren't big corporations were people who were smart about their sales and sold on peaks and didn't lose money out of it. I think most people ended up not, though, because of the whole diamond hands thing. It was a good effort in spirit. It was a poorly planned one.
I keep waiting for them for that group to go decide to buy a bunch of Shiba Inu stock.
That'd be funny too.
Coins. Because I have like 15 million of them. It's so ridiculously cheap. I was like, I'll buy some of this. So if it goes up to $1, I'll have $15 million.
Oh, that's nice. What's it at now? Like 0.00023 cents or something like that?
Yeah, it's like 100,000th of a penny or something like that. It's ridiculous. Well, speaking of good business, I don't know if we were speaking of that or not, but Nintendo Switch crossed 103 million units sold.
That was on my list of things to talk about. Yeah, let's get to it. The trajectory of the Switch, it's doing great right now.
And Nintendo says it's only in the middle of its life cycle. So
yes, 5 years in.
Yeah.
So
that's more than the Wii.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. It's now the best-selling home console that Nintendo's done, only being outsold by the DS family. Which it's weird about that. Does that consider the 3DS? Because I don't see it on the chart. I think they're lumping the 3DS in the DS family. The DS family outsells without the 3DS. I'm pretty sure. Maybe they're just not even including the 3DS in there. But this chart that I'm seeing doesn't have the 3DS on the chart.
Does it say 155 million units?
It doesn't. The chart doesn't actually say the specific units on there. It just shows the trajectory. Because I know if we look up console sales, like the DS still sells more than any other console without the 3DS added. When you look at like the overall sales charts, but this is just a weird chart showing. It's got the PS5, the Wii, the PS2, PS4. Switch, PS1, and DS. It doesn't actually even have the PS3 on there, weirdly enough. Very, very selective chart. Maybe they just felt it was getting too cluttered as it was with colors.
Yeah, well, but does it say how many the DS has sold?
No, it's just a trajectory chart. Okay. It doesn't actually show what the y-axis has. It only shows on the x-axis days crossed. So it's showing the first 72 months from launch. Right, so all of these are to the end, except for the what's it called, the Switch, because it hasn't made it as far as some of these other ones did. And the DS doesn't show the end of it because, well, the top of the chart stops. And it still goes higher before it reaches its 72-month period.
Yeah. Well, according to my research just now, the DS sold 155 million units over its life cycle. And the 3DS separately sold 76 million. So,
yeah, which isn't that great, but I think its life cycle was slightly shorter than the DS if you count all the like the SP and technically the DSi counts in the DS sales. So it didn't have quite as long. And also the DS had less competition than the 3DS did too. So I would expect it to sell better.
They both had about 9 years of lifetime.
Oh, okay.
But that's because the 3DS wasn't technically discontinued until 2020.
Yeah.
But it did sort of compete against the Switch for the last 3 years of its
life. It was kind of discontinued before that, just not officially.
Yeah.
There were some people still making games, but there weren't really a lot of games coming out during that time. Most third-party people had already abandoned it in favor of just making their stuff for the Switch. And even Nintendo really wasn't doing a lot of stuff on the 3DS in its last couple years.
Yeah. But how many units have the PS2 sold? Because isn't that the highest selling?
102.49 million after the 58 months on the market. That's when the Switch was. Because we've only had 58 months. I don't have the total for its lifetime, but that's just at the same marking point. It's 102.5 million.
Oh, I see. So at the same point, it was basically at the same level of sales as the Switch.
Yeah. Ish. Kind of still lower. The Switch is higher than that, by slightly, 103.
Apparently, the PS2 sold 155 million, so only slightly more than the DS.
Yeah. No, it was... we've been over this many times, too, why it was the cheapest DVD player you could get at the time when DVDs were newer. So everybody, even people weren't playing games, were getting the PS2. But that also got a lot of people into games that weren't previously, which is why certain games like Final Fantasy X is how an entire generation sees Final Fantasy. Kingdom Hearts brought a whole generation of people into video games. That's why a lot of them are popular. Guitar Hero, I believe, was more popular on PlayStation than it was on Xbox for that reason as well, which was a super popular franchise back then. It brought a lot of people into gaming that probably wouldn't have hopped in otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Could say the same for the Wii. A lot of boomer gamers playing Wii Sports Resort and all that kind of stuff for Wii
This
Sports.
is funny, too, is that there are still Wiis used commonly for like activities in retirement homes. And that's the creepiest thing to think about, because all those old people have Miis, and there's a bunch of Miis of dead people just sitting in retirement homes. And do they just leave them there until they need more space?
Yeah.
Or is there like an aide who has to go in when somebody dies and delete their Mii? And what's the emotional repercussion on the people who played with them in those games? Like, their Mii will no longer ever show in the background of the bowling alley.
I don't know.
It's a lot of things that you don't want to have to think about. But I'm bringing them up so you do have to think about it.
And like, it's funny that like, the Wii was praised for like, getting old people up out of their chairs and stuff like that. But there was no successor. So it's like once those Wiis kind of became old or stopped working or whatever, it's like, all right, go back to your beds, Grandma.
Yes, well, we all know that the successor of the Wii was the Switch, right? And I'm going to say that specifically because to some degree, the Wii was still being supported slightly through the Wii U's life cycle at the beginning. So there were still people buying games for the Wii. much like you see with many consoles. But then you still see the fact that Just Dance went all the way to 2021 before it stopped making games on the Wii. So really, for a lot of people, the Switch is the successor of the Wii. They just pretend the Wii U never happened.
Yeah.
And there are some old people playing the Switch because they brought back... they brought back the Wii Sports for the Wii U. I don't know if it ever hit the Switch yet, but they had 1-2 Switch at the beginning, which was a very active game that I know was popular amongst older people. And there's a lot of really active games. The Wii Fit thing, Ring Fit or whatever it was called. You got it, right?
Ring Fit Adventures.
Yeah, that is very popular amongst older people. They even have settings to it for older people. Yeah, I see the box back there. Can't quite read it with how small your thing is, but like I'm like asking you, it's like I know you got it. Yeah, there's settings in it for older people. Like it goes all the way up to elderly, like easy mode and stuff like that. And a lot of older people got Ring Fit Adventures. So I think the Switch is doing a good job of being a successor. One of the things that would have been great in that regard was too overpriced for what it was, and I think zoned a lot of people out, and that was the Nintendo Labo. Because lot of Labo stuff would have been great for having activities for elderly people. Not only would they get to construct the thing, but a lot of them were very active once you were done with it. But the cost of it, like, you paid $80 for cardboard sometimes. Like,
yeah, it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, why was it so expensive? I don't even understand.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
But if the Wii U continues its trajectory, not the Wii, the Switch. The Wii U continues its trajectory, it's going to be as much in the grave as it's always been. If the Switch continues its trajectory, it's had some slight dips here and there, but some peaks. It depends on games coming out. It's looking like it's probably going to pass these other two up, if it's only halfway through its lifespan. We're probably gonna see a curve. Almost everything dips at its end, so it probably won't quite reach 200 million. But I'm thinking it's gonna pass these other two up.
Yeah, very well could. Seems like it might. I mean, it's not like sales have slowed. It's still selling out as fast as they can manufacture them.
Yeah, they even say that two of the reasons for the dip is the boom from New Horizons has subsided. Makes sense. Most people who have the game have it now. Maybe some later adopters will go back and get it. Who knows? But it's not the launch boom. And also, there's the semiconductor shortage has hurt production, so they can't make as much.
Yeah. And, a lot of households have two. I'm very tempted to get my son the OLED one because my daughter's been basically bogarting his Switch to play. Guess what? Animal Crossing.
Yeah. There are 4 Switches in the house I'm in.
Yeah.
I've got one. My mom has one. My brother has one, and my youngest brother has a Lite because he doesn't care about playing it on the TV. He just wants something that he can play on the go. But to some degree, he might be regretting that a little bit because the Joy-Con on his Switch Lite is starting to drift a little, and that's a lot harder to replace.
Is it?
Without, I don't know, maybe if you do it yourself, it's easier to replace. It's just as easy to replace. It's the same thing. You just take the board off and do all that stuff.
But yeah, you'd have to take the whole back off, right?
Yeah.
It's just one big piece.
So it might be more physically difficult to replace, but cost-wise, if you're doing it yourself, it's the same.
Yeah.
But if you're not trying to repair it yourself, it is more difficult to replace because you have to send the whole system in for repair. You can't just buy a new set of Joy-Cons real quickly.
Go on Amazon, check out the last I looked, $16 repair kit.
Yeah, I'm going to recommend it to them, but we're all kind of hurting for what little cash we can do, just because we're all in a new place. And
Yeah.
and a lot of expenses and stuff like that.
Well, I was going to say cheaper than getting a new Joy-Con, but there are no Joy-Cons, so it's a lot cheaper than getting a new Switch Lite.
Yeah.
I guess sending it into Nintendo is free, technically.
Yeah. I actually, because they have felt so bad about the whole Joy-Con drift thing and the backlash to it, I don't even think they charge you shipping. I think they cover it.
Yeah.
But that's not new. In the past, Nintendo used to cover shipping for repairs and stuff, too. It depends on the generation.
Yeah, I think so. Someone on Twitter said, say something good about the I think it was a N64 controller. And I was like, well, mine never got drift.
Yeah. Well,
my analog stick never got drift.
Eventually, from overuse, especially if you were somebody who played a lot of Mario Party, and when you're in a household with multiple kids, you played a lot of Mario Party. Eventually, those springs do wear out, and you just have floppy joysticks. They work to some degree, but the good news is it's the cheapest thing in the fucking world to repair, because all you do is go out and get another spring and put it in there, and then it's working brand spanking new again. Oh, man. I mean, technically, everything was electric, but it was the closest thing to analog that you were going to get with old controllers.
Yeah, I guess those analog ones weren't technically... They weren't technically analog, right?
No, they weren't. Not by the pure definition of it. But we would refer to them as analog because it was a moving part that caused a physical input as opposed to a digital input. It was, octagonal gate.
Right.
It was the first real joystick in a Nintendo system. Like, you could get like advantages and stuff like that, but it still only read the input that the game did. So it was like a glorified D-pad that you held a controller, like a joystick on. It was the actual first joystick that a Nintendo system had, and it was pretty fucking good. It would tear off the skin on the palm of your hand if you were trying to do those heavy rotation things, but other than that, it was pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
And I think the problem that most people have with the controller is the shape of it. I'm like, listen, the claw makes sense if you realize it's actually two different controllers. It's actually not that bad. There were third-party controllers that made it look more like what the GameCube controller would eventually be, but for what they were going for, you never use the D-pad and the joystick at the same time. You never use the L and the Z at the same time. It was functionally just two different controllers.
Yeah. I never used that outside left-hand part. I can't think of a single game that I used that for.
I used both for Pokemon Stadium. I would use the joystick for the mini games, but for the actual like menuing and all the other stuff, I would use the D-pad for it. There's a lot of games that actually prefer the D-pad. A lot of puzzle games like Pokemon Puzzle League and stuff. I didn't like, because they were still built for a grid, like just 4 directions. Yeah. So sometimes you'd get that issue that you get with trying to play 64 games with a GameCube controller or later ones with the C buttons, where if you put it into an angled direction, it'll pick one of the 2 directions for you. And I didn't like that in puzzle games, so I was always using the D-pad for puzzle games because I didn't want it picking a direction. I wanted it to always be left or right. Yeah.
See, I just mostly played like Ocarina of Time and
there was literally, I think that corner was turned off for Ocarina of Time. I don't think they'd actually even used it at all.
Yeah, and Majora's Mask and Castlevania 64.
Well, that was a good thing too. Like, so games where both of them function the same, it was up to the developer if they wanted to leave both on with mimic controls. But sometimes that would take a little more RAM because it was mirroring the control between the 2. So most developers just turned off the one that you didn't use in that game. It's even something Nintendo did for most of their games. Like, I don't think the D-pad was active in Mario 64 either.
Right. Yeah, I forgot that one. Mario 64. Yeah, so most of the games I played, I think, on Nintendo 64 were like, 3D or whatever, third-person 3D games, action games, and so they probably all used the analog stick. So I always thought it was strange that I have this thing with this controller with 3 sticks, and I always used the somewhat awkward right hand and middle one. That was like always what I used. So.
No, it's weird. There weren't a lot of fighting games aside from Smash Brothers on the 64. If there were, I probably would have preferred to use the D-pad for that, because there's something about it. I actually prefer like an old-fashioned joystick for fighting games, which is why I have that big like fight stick down there that I've showed off before. But when it comes to console controllers, I just don't feel like there's enough precision of your thumb sitting on a joystick to do all the complex moves that I can do it better by manually inputting the move on the D-pad, even if it means having to hold down 2 parts at the same time to get that angle.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Switch is looking good. I think it's on its way of probably being the most successful video game console of all time thus far.
Very possible.
I think it's very likely. And there's a chance that it may not happen, but it's very, very likely that it will be.
Mm-hmm.
And well deserved, because honestly, probably since the Super Nintendo, this is likely my favorite Nintendo console.
Mm-hmm.
3DS was close to passing it up. It was just missing a few things in support. But, like, I don't know, the Super Nintendo was just a solid console with a solid library. It's really hard to beat that as a system.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this might actually be my favorite. What would really put it over the edge is if they reactivated the themes system, which is sitting there in the OS, mind you. It's there. They just don't have it active. And start selling themes. I'd drop $1 for, like, an Animal Crossing theme for the background of my Switch.
Yeah. Or if they just frickin' do something more with their, whatever, their classic games. I forget what they're called. The NES console and all that stuff.
Let me use my own theme without having to hack it. There's a screenshot function. Just let me put a wallpaper of a screenshot that I took as the background. I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I tell you, I watch a little bit of Arlo every once in a while. He's very optimistic about the fact that essentially it looks like Nintendo's taking the current iteration of sort of the NES and SNES classic, I forget what it's called, like classic library, the way it is on the Switch, and that basically that's going to carry forward to the next console. So you're not going to have to rebuy stuff again. It's just that's going to be the thing going forward. So, plus they've improved the N64 emulator in the last update.
Oh, have they? How much have you checked? Have you played?
It's not perfect, but apparently the one of the notorious issues with Ocarina of Time, the room with the reflecting pool where you fight Shadow Link.
Yes.
They've improved. I'm sure it's throughout the game, but that's where you notice it the most. They improved the reflection and the water, the look of the water and stuff like that.
Does this also mean, since that is rendering more properly, that that room doesn't spontaneously crash on you while you're fighting him anymore? Or?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I just heard that the rendering had improved, but I think I've heard that the some of the lag, the input lag, I think has improved. Yeah. Which, even if it's not perfect, at least it tells me they're working on it.
Yeah, well, I think that's the worst part, right? Like, the input lag is one thing, but a lot of these are old games. You can kind of like just get good and work around it to some degree for most of the games. The fact that related issues to input lag and why they're happening is causing some games to spontaneously crash on you in the middle of playing. And these are older games where you have to manually save. That's a little more frustrating. It's like, oh, when was the last time did I save?
Oh, did you see there's a repeatable crash in Paper Mario?
Yeah, I did see
Switch.
that one.
Yeah. That apparently is still there.
Yeah, just don't hit that tree.
No, it's something about if you die while you have a certain follower or companion with you.
I'm trying to remember which one that was. Because I saw that one too. Yeah.
If you get a game over with the electric kind of
Watt.
companion dude.
With Watt.
Yeah. If you get a game over while Watt is with you, the game crashes.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of like repeatable crashes. Like almost all of them they're not just like one-off bugs with the system. They're like some weird repeatable bug due to the emulation. And this isn't uncommon. This is actually something people need to understand. The physical version of Paper Mario is already prone to crashes. Like this is something that you had to deal with back in the original. But it was rare back then by comparison. I actually think I've done playthroughs where it's never crashed on me. But I've had playthroughs where I've had to restart the system. The game was using quite a bit of memory, compared to most games, and this was before the RAM expansion came out. I think that's probably why I've had playthroughs where it hasn't crashed, because most of them had been after we got the RAM expansion with Donkey Kong. But there are more repeatable crashes in this version, including there's a tree that has an item in it in I can't remember the name of the Tundra Village where all the penguins are way later in the game. It's like the second to last chapter before you actually go up into space. And if you hit the tree to try to get the item out of it, the game crashes immediately upon you hitting the tree with the hammer. I don't know if that one's been fixed or not yet. I have no idea why, if it's like a memory surge or something. I feel like a lot of these problems are poor use of system memory with the emulator itself and not necessarily the ROMs, because most of these games are literally just ROMs that they're dumping in there.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, I think it's positive news that they're apparently working on fixes to these things. There's still no apparent fix to the weird, the fact that the mist, they always had to put like some level of mist in the background of 3D games early on, and with things like Ocarina of Time, they used it to great effect to add a certain amount of atmosphere and to obscure things in the background that they really didn't want.
Well, especially in certain areas too, like the Lost Woods and stuff like that, are absolutely necessary when you're going through the desert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, in this emulated version, it just flat out does not show that mist. It just doesn't show it. So you see all this shit in the background that looks terrible.
And all the horrible skyboxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, which you're really not supposed to see, and you couldn't see in the original. And so that also affects that room with the reflective water on the ground, and they haven't fixed that aspect of it. But yeah, people are like, "Oh my God, the mist is gone! I can see all the blocky polygons in the far distance."
Well, the funny thing too is with the mist, and one of the reasons why the mist works so well is because there is an extra layer of visual compression on top of it. To work with the CRT screen, so that the polygons had to be rendered in pixels. That's like, even though they had polygons, the system had to still render in pixels. And by putting this extra layer of compression, you don't see the hard edges of things. And that compression's still there, but the mist is kind of one of the things that made the compression looked well. And now you get these like crunchy edges without the mist, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, it's like trying to, take these old games that were designed to look good on a CRT, and you put them on an HD screen, and it's all, you see every flaw, and it's like, ooh.
Well, like, so good. The PC port of Mario 64 that people have made, right? They've got mods for it. And some of the best mods actually do remove the mist and the compression. But when you remove both of them, it actually works specifically in that game. Because then you get these very smooth polygon edges from how they originally programmed the game before they had to add all these effects to make it look good on the system. And that works. It's actually very easy to retexture map things too once you do that. And with modern computers don't have like the same like storage and memory problems that the 64 have. You could make the game look really good. But the 64 had a lot of memory and storage problems, and you needed both of those effects. Almost every game used both of those effects, by the way. A lot of people don't realize that. You put any game in, and all of them have both like the mist and compression effects. Some of it was just limited to the skybox. It wasn't pulled into the foreground. But like literally every game had both of those effects active, whether they were used to the fullest extent or not.
Right.
It was actually, I watched a nice video of a guy explaining how they used those effects back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember back in the day when, in magazines and stuff, when they'd show screenshots of Nintendo 64 games, they always looked a little bit blurry, I guess you could say. But when you're playing it, you don't notice it as much. But I think that was an intentional way they tried to make things look good on a CRT, was to kind of smooth out the edges and stuff by basically compressing.
Yeah, the nature of a CRT too is some things are going to end up sharp anyway because of the tubes are all slightly off a line. So like you kind of get a pixel out of the combination of the red, green, and blue tubes. But if you actually look really, really close, they're making like these little like winged triangle shapes where they tessellate into each other, and that kind of creates like sharp edges anyway, even if you blur something. That's why a lot of things just look way different if you try to take stuff that were supposed to be made for CRTs than these modern pixel screens. I'm kind of interested. I don't know if you had been following the saga of the quartering over the last week or so, where he was essentially offered to interview Frostgren from G4 TV. Oh.
You don't know about this?
No, I know that she basically said you could contact her agent and she'll talk to basically anyone.
And this ties back to what we were just talking about, trust me.
No, I believe you. I believe you.
But it's funny because there was some pushback. Basically, a couple people, Yellow Flash and Ethan Van Sciver, a couple other YouTubers, let's say, were suggesting that it was not a good idea to interview Frost. Obviously, they can't dictate what the quartering does. He can do what he likes. Yeah. But they were criticizing him and saying that they wish that he wouldn't. And Yellow Flash on Flashcast, I think it was last weekend. God, I can't believe how fast this week has gone by so fast. I can't believe this was only a week ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, last Saturday on Flashcast, Flash was just screaming at the quartering, and it was kind of hilarious. And one of the things he was yelling about, because he was kind of calling him a sellout, he was yelling about the fact that the quartering was had been tweeting about how he was buying all of these retro video game consoles and stuff like that, and he was talking about, and this is how it ties back in. He was talking about how he got like a SCART converter and stuff like that, and it made me think like, I'm kind of interested in that. And I started to look into some SCART converters, how you basically take the analog, whatever it is, RGB inputs, and it converts them to digital and stuff like that. I wonder how good that stuff looks, because I know like Cinemassacre obviously does a lot of retro reviews and stuff like that, and I know they've got like SCART converters, but I wonder how they so yeah, it's nothing to do with the whole interview with Frost. I was just very interested in what the hell the quartering was. I was just interested in what the hell the quartering was tweeting about buying these retro consoles, and I was like, ooh,
I would introduce Frost
to an HD TV.
I think it'd be fun. I said I would interview Frosk. I think it'd be fun.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and frankly, so yeah. Anyway, that's how that ties in. We can talk about this now if you want.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Actually, so the whole thing, because I never knew this before. It hit me in this weird uncanny valley because I'm not used to seeing somebody my own age on G4, right? Like, because when I grew up watching it, everybody was older. Frosk is the exact same age as me. And I'm just not used to seeing that. I'm just like, what? No, only old people are supposed to be on G4. I'm like, oh wait, you're an adult now. You are an old person.
Now wait a second. Morgan Webb, who basically I've had a crush on for like 20 years, is 1 year younger than me. So shut the hell up.
Yes, but like, so you were already an adult when G4 was a thing, pretty much, right? I wasn't. So like, it's just that weird thing of like, you seeing something from your childhood come back, and you're like, oh god, that's right, I'm old now.
Ooh, Olivia Munn is 41. That's amazing. So she's 3 years younger than me.
It's like I have no problem seeing Disney Channel people being my age because we were the same age when I saw them on Disney Channel.
See, Disney Channel people to me are all kids.
Yeah, well, and modern ones are all kids, but you expect them to be kids.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how much. I mean, we talked about Frosk before on this show, right?
A little, yeah. My more criticism was less about what she was talking about, even though like you could go back and reread the chat and everybody was just like Yas Queen and stuff like that. So what she was talking about wasn't even in the chat at all. But it was more of the fact that he was talking about it all because my complaint is like, all these trolls, if there is anybody like that, are interconnected. The web is everywhere. You talking about this could only hurt you because you could go anywhere and they're still going to be there. Yeah. This is really dumb.
Yeah. You know what's funny is that, I mean, I'm telling the truth when I say I liked Morgan Webb better than Olivia Munn, even though I think a lot of people think that Munn was better looking. Yeah. And she certainly had a bit more of a sexual vibe to her on the show when she came on.
So I think because I think I was prepubescent when I first started watching G4. It was close. It was probably right on the line. So like I didn't like either of them for sexual reasons, at least at first. I mean, as I get older, obviously, like, oh yeah, those two people are definitely very attractive. But like I like them for different reasons because they both brought different personalities to the shows that they were doing. And I think that's why most people like them too. And I even think like a large level of attraction between both of them was which one's personality did you like more? Because I think also it helps if a woman's attractive. No guy is going to say otherwise. But I think women think guys are a lot more shallow and vapid than they are. And I think it's because young women are that way and older women aren't. And guys really just don't change, right? Like once you hit puberty, your level of attraction is mostly the same. You tend to prefer your contemporaries eventually, but it's still mostly the same. A woman's personality does have a lot to do with a guy's attraction towards her.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I definitely preferred Morgan Webb, I guess, just for her personality. I thought she was funnier. Yeah. And she seemed like an actual kind of nerd. Like she...
Oh, yeah, she definitely...
Yeah, I mean, she seemed like a gamer. She talked a lot about tech stuff, which of course I loved. And even my wife at the time loved to watch it. She loved Morgan Webb. She was just fun to watch. And then I think I just kind of stopped watching after Olivia Munn came on, and she just seemed a bit. I think it was just more leaning into the whole sexual attraction kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's not like Morgan wasn't. Because I remember like the swimsuit shoots and stuff like that they would do. But with Olivia Munn, it was.
But I found it
almost entirely from a comedic side, because I would label her more of a comedian because almost everything with the sexual appeal was like a joke. Right. It was sexy, but it was funny sexy. Almost like shit you would see on like the Man Show and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it, but as a nerd who liked the show for the nerdery stuff, I liked it less when she came on.
Yeah,
and so,
but I mean, she was still always more Attack of the Show than anything. So
yeah, I guess.
And Attack of the Show was more that, right? X-Play was more of the daytime appropriate, despite some of the jokes that they were still making on there, but the daytime appropriate, kids could be watching the show to get reviews and stuff. And then Attack of the Show was like, this is opening up the nighttime block of the channel, where more of the adult humor, and even if they were talking to nerds, they were doing it more of a raunchy adult kind of way.
Yeah. And what's sad is that, if Frost weren't such a frosty bitch, she could have leaned into that because she's good looking. She's fairly good looking.
She's got like that punk appeal to it.
Yeah. She totally could have leaned into that, done some of those same sorts of sexy, funny skits and that sort of shit, and like totally could have gotten their audience back, like gotten a huge audience if she had just leaned into that. And then if people are saying she's not as sexy as the previous host or whatever, like, just ignore that. But
well, so the problem is she couldn't, and it's not that she lacks the physical ability, it's the industry and the virtue vibes that they have today, because even some of the former hosts would fall on that side now, even if they didn't back then. But
I think if she had a different personality, if she decided she was going to lean into that kind of stuff and act more like Olivia Munn and say, I want to do these kinds of sexy sketches and that sort of thing, I don't think they would have said no.
I don't think they would have said no either. The problem is, I don't think she would have been in this position if she was that type of person. Specifically, because after I'm looking back through her career, I only vaguely remembered her from watching like the League of Legends Championship series and stuff like that when she did casting. But it turns out like a lot of her career was pushing herself as like a token. Right, I could be the woman on the thing. And she even, like, threw two of the co-hosts, as I'm digging into this, under the bus. Two of the same people that, like, insisted that Riot take her on as an official caster. She threw under the bus later on. And it's like, oh, yeah, so it's like, I mean, maybe there's more nuance to it than that, but, I mean, it's probably not. If she wasn't this type of way, I don't think she would have gotten into the same career path that she's in. So that's the problem, like.
Yeah, they would have done so much better with a what's her name? What's the name of that commentator that's actually friends with Quartering? I want to say Meg. Shit, I don't remember. The one who's always talking about working out.
I don't know who you're talking about.
I'll find it eventually. Anyway, there's plenty of funny, kind of nerdy, famous girls out there, like on Twitch and stuff, that would have done so much better. Yeah. But they probably, like you said, they wouldn't have gotten the job because they wouldn't have been willing to throw under the bus whoever they needed to throw under the bus to get it. And B, they wouldn't have gotten the job because they're just not, because they're like conservative, basically.
Or in some way, they don't care, right? Like there's a lot of sexy women on Twitch specifically that I just don't think care about any like leanings or anything like that. They're just, what do they say? Living their best life is the term people throw around.
I was going to say Meg Turney, but that's not who I was thinking of.
That's got to be a different Meg. I'm familiar with Meg Turney.
Yeah, no. Melanie Mack. Melanie Mack.
Not familiar
would
with
have been
person.
Perfect. Oh, you're not? Okay. No. Yeah, check her out, Melanie.
I might have seen, because that name sounds familiar, might have seen on Twitter here or there, but I'm not like... I don't have an image in my head of this person.
Okay. She does. She tweets a lot about working out. But she was. I know she's on Twitch now, and she's very popular on Twitch. But I think she was a writer
that says "I do exist" to be easy on the eyes or something like that.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, I think that's the tweet that I've seen.
Yeah. I think she was a writer for some gaming website, maybe IGN, something like that.
Okay, I've seen this person. Yeah.
Yeah. And she calls herself a tomboy and all this stuff. But she would have been great on a show like that. Of course, probably not with the soy boy idiots that are on there now. But she would have been absolutely a worthy successor to Olivia.
Disappointed to see Gerard on that panel. The completionist.
Gerard. Oh.
But lately he's been like defriending a bunch of his stuff because he was really big back in like the Normal Boots era and stuff like that. In the same little production company as Pro Jared and JonTron before either their like kerfuffles. And he's just like been defriending people that he used to be like really cool with, and now he's on X Play, and it's like and even then, despite all that, he seemed like genuinely like out of place when she started going on a rant. Like, I'm here for it. Like just the looks on his face with everything she was saying. Like, what did I walk into?
Not to mention Twitch thoughts make female producers jealous. Yeah, that's the thing with Melanie Mack. She's beautiful. She would make any other woman jealous and bitchy, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think that show does have a female producer, so yeah. Of course,
I think they should have just let G4 die. I love G4.
Yeah.
To some degree, I miss it, but it's a time capsule. Because G4 died for a good reason. It can't keep up with the internet, right? And even if you try to do some of the same stuff with a new modern internet format, like maybe daily live shows and stuff, it's still just going to get outcompeted by other things that are honestly more authentic, right?
Because it's too overproduced.
It is. That's the problem.
It does look contrived. I watched a little bit of it. And I'm like, yeah, this is straight out of like 15, 20 years ago. It's like I would have found this very entertaining back in 2005. But now it just looks contrived and overproduced and just fake. It's like, not funny anymore.
Yeah, it's like back then, you'd be watching Chris Gore on DV Doomsday give you the review of the DVD you should be buying in this overproduced setting. Maybe there'd be a skit involved. Now, I'd rather watch Red Letter Media because it's underproduced to some degree. Actually, I don't even think it's the right level of production, and it's way more authentic and funny.
Or The Critical Drinker is hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, if I want to see what the latest video games are, I mean, either I'll go look on Twitch and watch some Twitch streamer or watch, Urcha Gaming is really great. It's this Scandinavian girl who's cute and reviews games. Yeah, she's like incredibly like white blonde hair. And does funny little skits and stuff like that and reviews games. But mostly just go on Twitch and just look and see what people are playing.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately G4's time has passed and they're not, and apparently if you look at their YouTube views, they're pathetic.
Yeah. Well,
apparently
their stats across the board are pathetic.
Well, apparently on Twitch, they're still growing a bit. They're getting more and more followers.
I think they're inflated, though, because Twitch is one of their core sponsors.
Oh.
Yeah, they're actually a producer of the show. So there might be some reasons why they're growing. I think their numbers are being inflated. I mean, because they're being pushed right onto the main, when you log in, there's the main page and stuff, all kinds of stuff. Though Twitch also has like a really, at least in the political area side of things, a really left-leaning bent to it. And like you said, or I said before, looking through the chat, everybody was actually kind of like on board for it at the time. Giving their like Yas Queen slay.
That explains why they're still growing on Twitch.
Yeah.
But
Twitch has a left
YouTube,
leaning bent. Yeah.
Yeah, not only are they losing subscribers on YouTube, which they are continuing to, their views are like pathetic.
Yeah.
For the 500 or 450,000 subscribers they've got, their views are like ridiculous.
Well, it's funny. You can actually probably blame Destiny for that. If you look at historically, he was the one that brought Twitch politically to the left. So that's probably why you could blame Destiny directly for why G4 is able to grow on Twitch.
Oh, he brought Twitch over to the left?
Yeah, way back, because he's one of the older people that have been doing game streams and stuff like that, and he's one of the first people to actually talk about politics on his streams. He's the one that basically just made Twitch like a left-leaning stage for politics.
I've wondered that, because you know, I look at things like Games Done Quick, and I'm like, what the hell happened to these people? Like, when did they become so retarded?
And the funny thing now is, I don't even know if he partially regrets it, because now he does more fighting against the left side of politics than anything.
Yeah, I've seen him arguing with David Pakman. It's hilarious. Although he argues with Scott Adams, too.
Oh, he argues with everybody. He's got this new stupid name, but I think it's intentionally supposed to be stupid. He calls his side the Omni-Liberals.
Okay.
They're not centrists, they're not moderates, they're Omni-Liberals.
Yeah. Smart.
Yeah, he's actually got a good sense of humor. Like, I get why he became popular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you know what? That's enough about that. We're at the end of the show.
We are.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoy the show, please share it with somebody else who will enjoy it. And if you really like it, you can always consider giving a donation to streamlabs.com/vomitorium live. We have overmet our hosting fees for this month, thankfully. But, you know, you feel free to donate anyway. It'll roll over to some degree and help with the next month or whatever. Could also end up buying me a pizza. I don't know. If you want me to be happy and have pizza, I enjoy that too. But, you know, we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye-bye.